Right, why don't we move on and just take a look at the way this World Touring Car Circus operates and the impact that obviously you're going to see them make on the great race, the James Hardie 1000, here at Mount Panorama today.
Australia's great race dates back to 1963 when Harry Firth and Bob Jane shared a Cortina GT on the way to victory in the 130-lap 500-miler round the mountain. Overseas drivers made their mark 3 years later when Finland's Rauno Aaltonen teamed with Bob Holden to win the outright class, while the Japanese combo of Kitamo and Takanashi bonsai'd the baby class in their Datsun 1300. Yes folks, Bathurst had been conquered by the foreigners. The mountain marathon went metric in '73. The distance blew out to 1,000 Ks and the locals were on a roll. A decade after Aaltonen's victory, Briton John Fitzpatrick crossed the line with the terminally ill Bob Morris Tirana, while a year later, Belgian Jackie Ickx played a major role in the dramatic 1-2 result for Alan Moffat's Ford team. This race, unlike the Adelaide Grand Prix, has been about Aussie drivers and Aussie cars for a quarter of a century.
We've lived on our own out here for far too many years, and the country as a whole is in the real world now, and our governing body elected to adopt the international regulations, so it's only normal that we're going to have to pick up our game, and that was one reason we went to Europe, to find out what it was all about in the first place.
It's no longer a public road that we used to go racing on. It is now a racing circuit, there's no doubt about it. So, looking at that side of it, I'd say that changing to a European's formula, inviting those people out here, has caused this change, so therefore it's better.
Times do change, however, and today Bathurst earns the recognition it deserves. A full-blooded World Touring Car Championship race with overseas factory teams caught up in their own series. The concept of a global touring car competition was the brainchild of the New Zealand-based Strathmore Group, but almost on the eve of starting, it was taken over by Formula One boss Bernie Eccleston. After some early hiccups, the WTCC Circus reaches Mount Panorama today for round 8 and the biggest media coverage of the year.
Well, it's the most amazing coverage of all the races we do in terms of bulk numbers involved. Obviously, nationally in Australia, it's incredible. There's nothing like it anywhere else in the world, and it's bigger than most of the Grand Prix. So it's like a royal wedding.
I'm overwhelmed about the coverage and about the acceptance and about the enthusiasm we got in this country. In Europe, or where we are normally racing, the touring car thing is something, I would say, which comes close to club race status.
The inaugural World Championship has produced a season-long battle between BMW and Ford for the crown. Alan Moffat's privateer efforts in the Commodore netted him class wins at Monza and Spa, while Alfa has spent most of this year developing its 75 Turbo with encouraging results. Maserati, on the other hand, has found horsepower isn't everything. You still need braking and handling to stay with the latest offerings from other manufacturers.
Well, we have been having problems with the engine. That is solved now, because now we have the fuel injection, and that's much better, because before we had the carburetor. Now we are sorting out the handling, but just before we couldn't test just a lot, because we always had that problem with the engines. Now we've solved that, and now we can start testing with the car actually to get a better setup for the car.
The arrival of the touring car jet setters has disadvantaged one group of hardy souls, and that's the privateers. Regulars Warren Cullen, Bill O'Brien, Tony Mulverhill and Ken Matthews have been coming here for over a decade, yet found themselves on the reserve bench when the overseas entries were processed by race organisers.
Well, naturally, being an Australian, we do feel sorry for them, but I guess that's the penalty and that's the price you pay for being around the World Touring Car Championship. We wanted around the World Touring Car Championship, and everybody else wanted it, and it was obvious the more entries we got from overseas, the more the locals were going to suffer.
Privateers such as myself, Tony Kavich and Bill O'Brien have supported this race for a decade, and I believe we were harshly treated, particularly with the inclusion of some of the teams from New Zealand and some overseas teams that are certainly not experienced and wouldn't get within a ball's roar of us at Bathurst.
The traditional Bathurst standing start has been retained at the request of the ARDC, though the 9th round at Calder next Sunday will have a rolling start. The best news, though, we've saved for last. Remember the close shaves over the years as drivers have dodged pickup trucks on the circuit? All that will change. If the track is partially blocked by an accident, the pace car will move out of the pits and slow the field to 50 kilometres per hour. Crews will then have the opportunity to pick up the damaged equipment while the drivers can pit. But they will drop a lap as all cars will be held in the pit exit road until the next time the pace car passes. It all boils down to a massive game of chance. Should a driver come into the pits and drop a lap when the pace car is out on the circuit, or make up ground behind it and pit later but faster? Those are only a few of the questions to be answered when the World Touring Car Championship explodes across Mount Panorama a little later this morning.